27 reports were made to CPS on behalf of this child, and now he's dead. The case of Dennisboovaughan. Trigger warning, there are pictures included in this video. December 24th, 2019. Most kids were already tucked away in their beds, waiting on Santa to bring gifts. Well, not Dennis. He wouldn't get the opportunity to leave milk and cookies out. He wouldn't have the option of waking up and opening his gifts the next morning. Because by the evening of December 24th, he was dead. But it's been nearly 5 years and no arrests have still been made, even though the police know exactly who did this. So let's go back. Dennis and his siblings were placed with his grandmother after CPS deemed his mother an unfit parent. Immediately after his grandmother was granted guardianship, the reports to CPS began. Between the months of July and the following April, a total of 8 reports were made to CPS. Reports that described severe physical abuse, as well as the caregiver showing erratic behavior. One of the first reports filed in August of 2017 was made by law enforcement after an incident occurring at a campground. Police presence was requested as several witnesses observed Sherry Connor screaming at the 4-year-old Dennis, grabbing him by his neck and face, striking him several times. She dragged him by the arm and forcefully threw him into a tent. Cries, screaming, and yelling were heard from inside the tent that prompted several parties to call authorities as they feared the child might be in need of medical attention. And 4 days later, after the campground incident, DSS assigned a caseworker to follow up with the report. The caseworker did an interview at Sherry's home. The caseworker interviewed the children, the victims, in front of their grandmother where they could not speak freely. In March of 2018, that caseworker claimed the abuse allegations were unfounded and she closed the case. But CPS caseworkers neglected to contact the police officer who reported the incident to begin with. Caseworker also did not interview any of the witnesses at the campground who seen Sherry abusing Dennis. That caseworker needs to be arrested right now. Then, between the dates of April 17th and April 30th of 2018, the school would make 6 separate reports on behalf of the Vaughn children. He had multiple bruises on his face and neck. Here's one of the photos of the bruising on his face and cheek, along with scratches and abrasions on his face. Due to the contusion on his head, the school contacted his caregiver, his grandma, Sherry Connor. They advised her the boy would need a medical evaluation before he could come back to school, because they feared he had a concussion. So the grandma takes him to a hospital further away from their local hospital because red flags had already been raised at that hospital about previous injuries and abuse. So at the other hospital, the emergency room staff took notice of all the red flags on their own. During this hospital visit, medical records document not only the extensive injuries of the child, but Sherry's many stories attempting to explain away what had actually happened. Sherry blamed the injuries on the siblings fighting and arguing. She also claimed he was clumsy, he'd fallen down on the bleachers at school. But it was later confirmed that school don't even have bleachers. So a registered nurse was called upon to inspect the wounds in question, and in all 90 photographs of the abuse that were taken, it was documented very clearly in her report that the injuries were non-accidental. The child had clearly been beaten or grabbed by the face and ears. It was also noted the bruising on his small, bony arms were from rubbing the handcuffs he was confined to. In spite of this, CPS refused the mother's pleas to please get her children out of this home. CPS also refused any further investigation. Here's the black eye his mother reported to CPS, and it was ignored. Here's the bruising on his ear from slapping, pinching, or pulling. After seeing all this evidence, the caseworker still refused to investigate and left Dennis in her custody. So now we have multiple reports made to CPS by law enforcement, medical staff, school staff, witnesses, and relatives. In part 2, we're going to dig even deeper into the reports that were ignored by CPS. Because guys, trust me, you aren't going to believe this. You can also find Boo's mother here on TikTok. Go watch her videos. Her and her baby's story deserves to be heard. Boo deserves justice.